or you're not heavy enough, or you don't have catchy enough songs. Like we would hear that all the time, and we were just like, yeah, whatever, we're gonna keep doing what we do.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time on the channel, hit subscribe right now. Although many people consider Tetrarch to be a newer band, this band has actually been around for quite some time, and now they are releasing their second full-length album, Unstable. To learn all about it, I sat down with singer and guitar player Josh.
I gotta get this off my chest, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in motion, nothing's working.
Alright, so Josh, thank you so much for your time today. It's finally here, it's almost here. The first single of the new album came out, already almost a year ago. But now when we're recording this, we're about a week away from the launch of the new album. First release also with the support of a label, and not just any label, Napalm. How different is this experience for you so far compared to everything else that you've done?
A lot of it feels very similar to what we did with our debut album, Freak. But it's kind of like everything's times 10, like everything from interviews and reviews on the album and things like that is like been crazy. All the different like pre-order packages and different vinyl options and all of that are things we hadn't had in the past. It's just really good to have, somebody working alongside you that has the same goal. And, you're just working hard together to get the most out of this album, and we're excited to get this thing out.
A quote from one of the recent interviews, I think it was from Metal Hammer magazine, where you say people consider us the leader of this new metal resurgence, and we want to make sure that we don't let them down. At the time of the height of the new metal wave, if you will, you guys were very young. Where does this, the influence on Tetrarch and, that inspiration, where does that come from?
I think that when we were growing up, we were super young, but that was kind of what was popular at the time. It was what was all over MTV and all over the radio, and, you saw those bands like Korn and Linkin Park and, Slipknot and all that stuff. That was kind of, if you were into rock or metal, those were the bands that you saw and that you knew about, and they were headlining all the festivals. And, even as far as like my first show I ever went to concert was Metallica in like 2000 or something like that. And it was Metallica, Korn, System of a Down, and like Powerman 5000, something like that. So, it was just, those were the bands that were kind of out, and it was impossible to not know who they were, if that makes sense. And so they, those kind of groups became some of our favorite as we, were growing up, and it was only a matter of time before some of that inspiration ended up in our music. I mean, like when we started as a band, we were a thrash band. Like we just wanted to sound like Metallica, like genuinely. And, over the years, we've slowly like evolved our sound and brought in more of our influences over the year. And we haven't been scared to just try new things, and I think we've kind of blended so much together that it kind of spits out what you get with Tetrarch. We're not super heavy and obscure, but we're also not like the lightest rock pop thing you're gonna hear, and we always saw that as a good thing. We love bands that could be super heavy. You look at like Slipknot, and they can have the heaviest of heavy song, but then they can also have snuff, and they can kind of cross over to different listeners. And that's kind of something we've always wanted to do as a band. I'll say like there was a lot of people, especially like industry type folks, that as we were coming up, they're like, oh, y'all are just too in the middle, and you gotta appeal to the heavy crowd, or you're not heavy enough, or you don't have catchy enough songs. Like we would hear that all the time, and we were just like, yeah, whatever, we're gonna keep doing what we do because we love to play this, and eventually we know this is gonna pay off for us. And we don't see any negative about being in the middle. I mean, we can go play in front of a super heavy crowd, and somebody listens to some obscure metal, they can still find some heavy riffs and heavy vocals and crazy solos and things in our songs that they can really like. but we can also get that person that might have been a little scared about metal. You know, they weren't quite sure about it. Isn't it just a bunch of loud noise and screaming and, you know, all of that? But then we can have songs, you know, like You Never Listen, or even like the chorus on I'm Not Right, that's super catchy and super easy for them to relate to and to sing. And, you know, it's like, oh, metal's not that scary. It's kind of cool.
I won't listen to you anymore. I won't listen to you anymore.
Recently, you guys dropped the single for Negative Noise, which is one of the more ferocious songs that you guys have shared with the world. Very energetic video as well that ends with someone, the way that I interpret it, being unplugged from the machine and kind of finds peace at that. Is that what you're trying to say, that, you know, don't let this whole anxiety suck you in, you need to distance yourself? Or how should I interpret the video ending?
So the video ending, I know the kind of the idea was, you know, being unplugging from that, and then but then when like I open my eyes, like it's like we're still surrounded by all of the static and all of the stuff, like we escaped it, but it's still around us, you know. But you know, Negative Noise as a song is just you know, we're just, especially like this all happened way before the pandemic, you know, when we wrote it and recorded and everything. But even now, more than ever, you know, we are surrounded by so much noise, and there's so much static, there's so much negativity, and there's so much, you know, to sift through. And Negative Noise is just kind of a song about like not paying attention to all of that and knowing that it's just noise, and just kind of doing your own thing, and you know, just ignoring all of that negativity and just kind of staying on your own path.
On Freak, the previous album, main themes really seem to be, you know, embracing your individuality, and it's okay to be yourself and be weird a little bit, and maybe as a record a little bit more uplifting, where what we've heard so far on, I mean, I love how you put a positive spin on Negative Noise. At the same time, there is a lot of anger. It seems from all the singles, whether they're more anthemic or more raw, there seems to be a lot of anxiety, depression looming. What happened?
I don't know. It was just, you know, Freak, like you said, it was very much embrace your weirdness, embrace, you know, your individuality, like you said. And like every song is just a different version of what someone might consider a freak. With this one, we just, I don't know, we just had a lot of pent up frustration and you know, angst. And I always say like this album is it's very angsty in terms of like anger expressed outwardly at like people that have, you know, maybe wronged us or wronged people close to us, and also, you know, anger from within. So it's kind of like just a blend of emotions, and just, you know, we wanted an album that was very easy for people to relate to and very easy to apply to their own lives. You know, like we have very specific things that we were thinking or going through when we write the lyrics for you know, the songs. But I'm super proud that, you know, what it meant for me when I wrote it doesn't necessarily have to be what the listener takes it as. Like I've heard people express like what our songs mean to them in so many different ways, and I just find that amazing. You know, like it's so cool that if we can affect somebody in a personal way for whatever their situation is, I think that's amazing.
A lot of the songs seem to deal with, you know, internal emotions and what have you, mental health, and all elements that for a lot of people got confronted with that because of lockdowns and pandemics.
And so many people didn't even know that they were dealing with that kind of stuff until, you know, they were forced to be by themselves and like not be able to go to their jobs and, just forced with their own thoughts, So it's weird, like the timing of it. I think it is going to change the meaning of some songs for some different people, just from what they've had to go through over this last, year and a half or so.
I like how you said earlier, some of these songs were written when we, anger towards people that either wronged us or people that we love. The United States in recent years has gone through some of the less great years maybe in recent history with a lot of radicalization, a lot of anger. There's a cry for social justice, racial justice. Has that in a way affected you writing this album in particular?
We grew up in Atlanta and within 15-20 minutes of like downtown in the metro area, so it was very just like just a mixed crowd of just people in all walks of life, and very diverse as a city. So I feel fortunate that we grew up kind of around that. But we also, if you go 30-45 minutes in any direction, it's very just like Southern, and yes, there are still like some racial things that do go on and stuff, but I can say that like I think that it's getting a lot better. Like I'm actually very hopeful for the future, but I also don't, we're also not like we're not like a politically motivated band. We are each have our own views on the world and everything, but like at the end of the day, our goal as a band is to bring everybody together, regardless of what you believe, what way you lean, any of that. Like we want to bring people together as Tetrarch and as a band. So we stay pretty clear of any kind of political or like racial things like that, because we want to be inclusive. We see good in everybody, if that makes sense.
You guys are often listed as, this is one of the new bands that you need to look out for. Sure, all of you are still pretty young, and this is, your first major release potentially, but at the same time, you guys have been doing this for quite some time. You've been posting often pictures of the band when you guys were much younger. Knowing what you know now after 14-15 years of doing this, what would be the one advice that you would give a younger Josh as he's starting to play that guitar?
I would just tell young me to just keep pushing, just keep working at it, never quit. That's the one thing that we've never done. We never had a thought of like, well, maybe this isn't going to work out. Like anytime we heard the word no, we were just like, whatever, we'll show that person, And it took a long time, but we're also proud that it's taken a long time, because we feel like we've done it the right way. We started as me and Diamond, best friends in the 7th grade. We went to middle school together. We started playing shows at our local, or at our school talent shows and small little local shows on weekends when we could, and did like DIY touring around the country, sleeping at Walmart and on people's floors. And we've done every step of being in a band, and I think that that's really kind of helped us. Like that's what's given us thick skin, going through the trials of being in a band, and just like you hear no a lot, but you can't let that ever get you down, because you got to say, if I take a step back, that just means there's 5 steps forward. I would tell myself, just keep doing it. And it's funny because I actually have a story about that. I think I was like 14 years old or something like that, and my dad had gotten some meet and greet passes for Metallica at a show. He had become friends with like their monitor guy at the time, and he got us some meet and greets. And I remember when Kirk came through, I had a guitarist for him to sign, and he walks up, he's like, play me something. So I like play him the intro of Fade to Black, and he stops and talks to me for a second. He's like, are you in a band? And I'm 14 years old. I'm like, yeah, my guitarist Diamond, she's actually out in the crowd right now. And he's just like, well, just stick with it and never stop. He told me that, and that's something that he just said and moved on with his life, but how that can affect a little, 14-year-old. Oh my gosh, and we've done that. We've stuck with it. And so I would tell that to my young self. I would tell that to, I'll pass that on. Like when we meet new fans, when the world opens up and it's safe and we can tour again, and there's kids that are, I'm in a band and this, that's awesome. Stick with it. Find some friends that want to do it too, and just keep going. So I think that's the best advice for anyone, honestly.
Talking about those, younger versions of yourselves, I know obviously right now the focus is on the new album and once you guys get to tour again, but if I'm not mistaken, next year would be the 15th anniversary of your first demo. Any ideas or ever wanted to just see like, hey, could we either reissue or like put them in the more modern sound of the band to reinvent them? Or leave it as it?
I wouldn't even thought of that. We'd probably just leave them as is, but you never know. There could be something fun we could do with that. I know there's some songs that I know our families and some of our close friends are always like, go play this song, and they're like the simplest songs in the world, but they want to hear them. So maybe we'll slide one in when we play a big headlining show in Atlanta or something, for the original fans. That would be kind of fun. But we've never, I wouldn't have even thought about that. So that's a funny question, actually.
But Josh, I want to thank you so much for your time. I really look forward to hearing the full album, and I know that you guys are super excited to share this all with the fans. So thank you so much for your time today.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.